Head basketball coach Ron Hunter and the Georgia State Panthers have their dancing shoes ready. Georgia State basketball back from New Orleans with a Sun Belt Conference Tournament championship. The Panthers headed to Nashville in the NCAA tournament, going to take on the Cincinnati Bearcats on Friday in the NCAA basketball tournament. We're talking about that and a whole lot more with head coach Ron Hunter and some of the Georgia State players this week on the Georgia State Sports Update. Hi again, Panther fans, and welcome into this week's Georgia State Sports Update. We've got head coach Ron Hunter with us in studio. He's with us each and every week, but now it's head coach Ron Hunter and the Georgia State Panthers heading to the NCAA basketball tournament up in Nashville. Coach, congratulations. A great weekend in New Orleans, an exciting time. The fourth NCAA tournament berth in the history of Georgia State basketball. You've got two of them, and you got Cincinnati coming up on Friday in Nashville at Bridgestone Arena.
Yeah, we're excited about playing. I thought our guys played terrific this weekend. I've never been in a conference tournament where we were never behind 1 point the entire conference tournament. We played really well. Really, if you look at it, we had double-digit leads in every single game. I thought our kids were locked in. We are playing our best basketball now. I know I told you that earlier. Even during a stretch where we won 10 in a row, we were just playing okay. We were just hot at the time. Now we're playing our best basketball on both ends of the floor, and we're playing them together. And it was really, really fun to watch. I mean, really, the championship game was a very talented Arlington team. They really never could get themselves going because defensively we were just really locked in.
Coach and I talk all the time about whether or not and when Georgia State basketball has actually peaked. We talked about it late in the season. There was a little bit of a slide late in the season. Georgia State actually ended the regular season losing 4 of the last 6 ball games, beat South Alabama in that last game of the regular season to carry that momentum into New Orleans. Is it safe to say that Georgia State basketball may have peaked in New Orleans at Lakefront Arena with these 3 games?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I thought it started to come when we played South Alabama, our last home game here. I thought we were really locked in. I mean, we scored, we beat them 90-70, something of that nature. Defensively, we were there, and that has just carried over. And it's getting kind of a snowball effect and got bigger and bigger and bigger because if you look at our defensive numbers, even in a championship game, they didn't shoot 30%. You're talking about one of the more talented teams in the country that we held a 30% shooting. We were just really locked in. Our confidence is right there. Even when we lost to 4 or 6, I said before, I felt we were complacent. We were locked into the second seed. We couldn't get the first seed, and we weren't going to slide to 3. And so I thought our guys were complacent during that time.
All right, again with head coach Ron Hunter here on the Georgia State Sports Update. Georgia State heading to Nashville, and this is one of the most exciting weeks that a basketball team can experience. You don't play till Friday afternoon, 2 o'clock Eastern time. A lot of media interest now. We had Media Day at the Sports Arena yesterday. You've been on untold number of radio shows. Probably you got more coming up as the week moves along here. But this is one of those weeks where you enjoy it, but at the same time, we all learned this in 2015 going down to Jacksonville when Georgia State ended up beating Baylor. You guys still have to focus in on practice and realize there is another game to be played, at least another game.
Well, we're taking that same formula that we had when we went to play Baylor. We're doing it now. Yep. And you've got to have an incredible staff. And so I think I got one of the best staffs in the country that they can get my team prepared for what's getting ready to come on the basketball court. But for the institution, the city of Atlanta, all the national exposure, we need to continue to do that. Some coaches want to shy away from that. Like you just said, this is the best time of the year for college basketball, and Atlanta and Georgia State's a part of it. And so it's important that we make sure that we capitalize on all of that. And so while we're doing that, we also have to get ready and put a game plan together and make sure that we're ready to play. And my staff has been able to do that. We did that at Baylor. The attention is a little different because when we did it with RJ and the foot and the injury, it was a national story. And so, I felt like I was on every TV station in the country at that time. But now we're getting a lot of it, and it's picking up as we get closer because of what we did with Baylor in that situation. But my staff will have these guys ready to play. I guarantee you that.
All right, Cincinnati, a pretty good basketball team. They will come into the postseason, Coach, 30 wins, 30-4. They were 16-2 in the American Athletic.
Really a good team. I mean, I know Mick Cronin. He's done a great job with Cincinnati. This is a team that they think probably is a Final Four team. They're talented. They defend. I think they're number 2 in the country in defense, field goal percentage, although we're number 6.
Yeah, this is going to be a great defensive matchup.
And that part, we're going to talk to our players about saying, hey, listen, now you can really, we used to compare it inside of our league. Now you can compare what's going on inside of with the best team in the country. And if our defense is as good as we think it is, let's compare it to what Cincinnati does.
All right, I'm sure that the coaching staff, and by the way, who has the scout on this one, or does everybody have the scout on this
Everyone,
one?
but Claude has a lead. Claude has a lead scout on this because, again, he's done this as with us with Baylor, and so we'll let him keep his magic going.
All right, well, one of the guys I'm sure that you have focused on in your scouting is Gary Clark. He'll wear number 11. He's played and started all 34 games and leads them in scoring at 13 points and almost 9 rebounds a game. They don't have a guy that averages 20 points like we do at DeMarcus. They've got 4 guys averaging double digits.
Yeah, I think you have to focus in on the team. I think it's important that you focus in on the team and not one individual. What we have to do in this short period of time, you have to be good at what you do. If we start worrying about all the stuff Cincinnati does, we're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
So we want to continue to do what we do, make our defense really good, handle that pressure, don't take care of the ball. And if we do those things on that last media, I talk about this all the time, that last media, if it's a 1 or 2 possession game, I really feel like we'll win this game.
All right, well, coming up, we're going to talk to head coach Ron Hunter as we go back to New Orleans at Lakefront Arena. We're going to break down and look at some highlights and talk about each of the games on the road to the NCAA tournament for this Georgia State basketball team. We'll talk about Troy, we'll talk about Georgia Southern, and we'll talk about the championship game against the University of Texas at Arlington. We'll talk about Troy coming up next here on the Georgia State Sports Update. Back here with head coach Ron Hunter on this week's Georgia State Sports Update. Some of the Troy highlights, Coach. 73-51. We were able to see some of the actual game highlights. 73-51, and I was a little nervous going into this one simply because they had beaten us twice during the regular season.
Yeah, I get less of that. I've got a good team, and I got a team with a lot of pride. I can't see a team in the Sun Belt beating us 3 times in 1 year without us me pulling my hair out and these guys going crazy. So we didn't have to have much of a scouting report at that particular time. These guys were ready. I mean, when we woke up that morning, I knew the guys were ready to play. And man, and if you notice how we jumped on them right away and we kept it going, and we knew that we didn't play well either time we played Troy. And again, I just thought that helped us more than it hindered us.
Jeff Thomas had a great tournament. He led Georgia State in the win over Troy, 19 points, 17 points for DeMarcus Simons. At the top of the show, you said you don't know if you've ever been in another postseason tournament where your team has never trailed a single minute. And you're right, Georgia State got off to a great start in each of the 3 games in New Orleans.
Yeah, we really did. I mean, that's what I knew, that we talked about being locked in. We talked about, are you peaking? On both ends of the floor. I mean, it just, we would get stops. We would make big plays. Any run that you had, we would answer a run. And so, and I thought Jeff was a key in all of that. Jeff made big shots after big shots after big shots in every single game. And so he could have easily been on that all-tournament team.
Another outstanding defensive effort there by Georgia State held Troy to 31% shooting. They were 14 of 45, and other than Jordan Bernardo getting his points, nobody else hurt us.
Again, I thought every shot was challenged. We were really active. We were in the passing lanes. We just made every single thing they can do. We took them out their rhythm, and that's what we've got to do again on Friday.
All right, so in the second game down in New Orleans, after eliminating Troy, Georgia State had to go all the way to New Orleans to take on in-state rival Georgia Southern. We've done that before. 73-67, the final score in that one. Georgia State, 3 players in double digits, led by Isaiah Williams coming off the bench, one of your seniors with 21 points.
Yeah, another game, we jumped on them early, and we I thought we were in a good flow, and boy, I thought everyone was playing, and we were doing it because DeMarcus probably had his worst game of his career that particular day. I've never seen a kid get 4 charges and a foul out of game with 4 offensive fouls. But again, I thought the team was tremendous. Isaiah Williams big shot after big shot after big shot in the last 5 or 6 minutes of the game as we were trying to hold on to that game.
Well, your other senior played an outstanding game as well. Jordan Session played 30 minutes. Once again, just missed a double-double by 1 rebound. He had 16 and 9, and Jeff Thomas had 13 points to go along with 4 rebounds. Again, final score 73-67. Georgia State eliminates Georgia Southern. Right now, let's take a look at some of the highlights from Lakefront Arena. Levy over to Jeff Thomas, right wing for 3 on the way. Good! Gets it over to Jordan Session in the lane. Get out of the way. Jordan goes up and slams it home, and a great feed there by Isaiah Williams. Up and good for 3! Kane driving in all the way off the glass. It is up, and it is good. Patted, and he got fouled on the play. Back over to Isaiah Williams. 3 on the shot clock. He'll drive in the lane. The floater is up, and it's good by Isaiah Williams. Georgia State has won the ball game. They're going to move on to the Sun Belt Conference Championship. Some of the highlights from Georgia State's win over Georgia Southern. We're back talking to head coach Ron Hunter, and so that gets you into the championship game on Sunday. You got the University of Texas at Arlington. They played a knockdown, drag-em-out ball game with Louisiana Lafayette. We had just seen UT Arlington a few weeks prior. What were your thoughts going into that game?
Well, I thought Arlington played really well. When you look at the talent that Arlington has, you know, the 7-footers, they got the big-time point guard. They got the NBA draft pick in Hervey. They're really, really talented, and I thought that was on display when they played Louisiana. But I felt good going into the game because generally what happens with that is that they probably thought that was a championship game. And so then we had an early tip-off, and I thought if we were ready to play, that we could jump on them, and that's exactly what happened.
I was going to say another good start. Right out of the gate, was able to build a lead. And DeMarcus had that look as if we are not going to lose this game.
Yeah, and again, I think that's important. When you get in postseason play, conference tournament, NCAA tournament, starts are really, really important. You don't want to have to climb out when you're in the season. We're in that season of one and done. And so you got to make sure that you come out of the gates ready to go, and every game we're able to do that. And I knew DeMarcus would be ready after the Georgia Southern game, and boy, he came in and really gave our team a big lift. DeMarcus
ends up with a game-high 27 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals. Again, filling up the stat sheet.
That's DeMarcus stats right there. I mean, that's what he does, and it's not that doesn't look like anything he hadn't done all year. He's just a really good player, and he's going to continue to get better.
Devin Mitchell with 13 points, 3 rebounds, 11 and 6 for Malik Benlevy.
I thought Malik's best game in the tournament, this last one, and we need Malik to be able to do that, especially even on Friday. But all our guys, I mean, this song seems to play the same way all the time. I mean, all year. Our guys have been great. They've been great all year. You don't know which guy's going to come up and score. One day is Isaiah, one day is Jeff. Devin hit some big shots. Malik comes in and hit big shots. DeMarcus stays consistent about what he does. A guy we haven't talked about, Kane Williams, I thought had an unbelievable first-year conference tournament. Made big plays. Without Kane Williams, I don't think we win this thing because he gave us big-time minutes.
You had been getting him ready late in the season. How many games down the stretch did you play him double-digit minutes? And it started kind of all of a sudden.
Yeah, I think when we came back from really from Texas, the Texas trip, we start putting him in and giving him heavy minutes, and it's really paid off. Because right now he's one of those guys. He comes in, he handles the ball, he's good defensively, gets his hand, but he finishes. And one thing that we haven't talked about, he's really making free throws when he gets in games because he gets to foul a lot, and now he's hitting his free throws, and he's just playing outstanding basketball right now.
All right, so Coach and I are talking all the time about holding teams under 40% shooting defensively, the way Georgia State's playing defense. So let me just read you the numbers from this tournament. Okay, so against Troy shot 31%, Georgia Southern 39.6%, and as a grand finale, you hold Texas Arlington, a pretty high-scoring team, 29.8%.
When you do that, you're going to win games. It doesn't even matter what you do offensively. When you can hold teams to that number, you can do it. And it reminds me of what we did when RJ and those guys here, we beat Baylor. Yeah. All of a sudden, we start playing really great defensive basketball, going to the go into the tournament, we hold Baylor down and just enough that we can get a shot, to beat Baylor. It's eerie how the similarities are really right there. Although this team this year, we've done it for a longer period of time. That's been kind of a carrying card for us. And I think if we can do that again, going into Friday at 2 o'clock, I think some special things can happen for us.
So you go into a championship game, giving up 19 offensive rebounds.
Yeah,
that's incredible. I mean, Johnny Hamilton was a tough cookie, but the offensive rebounds in the end didn't hurt.
Well, and we've said that before this year. Again, that's kind of been our Achilles heel this year is the rebounding part of it. But on the other end of it, we've been so good defensively and we've been efficient on offense that we haven't allowed the rebounding thing to really bother us.
Well, again, when it comes down to their best player, Kevin Hervey, again, crediting Georgia State's defense, one of the two best players in the league. I think we'll agree he's one of the two best players in the league, along with DeMarcus, who ended up winning Player of the League honors in the Sun Belt Conference. In 36 minutes, coming off the bench, he shot 2 for 13.
And I tell you what, if you had told me that at the beginning, I wouldn't have believed that. Man, that guy's really, really talented. So for us to be able to hold him down, and I thought we did a great job on Eric Neal also.
Yeah.
If you combine what we did defensively on both of those two guys, man, that was one of the reasons why we were able to win so handsomely.
Those are the two players you would be most worried about going into a championship game, especially having watched them the night before against Louisiana Lafayette. As I mentioned, Kevin Hervey, 6'9" NBA prospect, shot 2 for 13. Eric Neal shot 2 for 16.
I tell you what, man, and they missed some shots, but our game plan was to force them away from the basket, shoot challenge shots. We were able to get them to do that, and our guys really held into the game plan, and we were able to lock two of the better players in our league down.
All right, real quick, before we take a look at some more of the highlights from the UT Arlington game, Isaiah Williams gets named to the All-Tournament team, and Most Outstanding Player, DeMarcus Simons.
Yeah, I was really happy for Isaiah to have one of our seniors be on that list that's a great list, especially when you're in your championship game. So really excited for both of those guys.
All right, 74-61, the final score. Georgia State wins the Sun Belt Conference Championship as they beat the fourth-seeded Mavericks of the University of Texas at Arlington. Let's take a look at some of the highlights right now from Lakefront Arena, Georgia State's win over UT Arlington. DeMarcus Simons on the floor, driving, kicks it out. Ben Levy for 3. Good from the corner, right side of the baseline. Five on the shot clock. DeMarcus going to drive in all the way and dunk the ball in the face of Johnny Hamilton. Buzzer sounds. Georgia State has beaten Texas Arlington here in New Orleans. They've won the Sun Belt Conference basketball tournament 74-61 over the Mavericks. Georgia State's dancing, headed to the NCAA tournament for the 4th time in Georgia State basketball program history.
Get your shoe and shine and your good cologne days. We're going to boogie.
Back here in the Georgia State Sports Update, we've been talking about Panther basketball heading to the NCAA basketball tournament with head coach Ron Hunter. Pleased to be joined right now by Jeff Thomas from the Georgia State basketball team. How exciting is this? Great weekend in New Orleans. You guys win, you beat Troy, you beat Georgia Southern, then you win a fantastic game over the University of Texas at Arlington, and you get in that NCAA tournament bid.
The weekend was just a build-up. The first game, we knew we had to take care of business, and then the second game, we knew if we won that game, we had a chance to go to the tournament. And just every game just getting, wow, we're getting closer and closer. And then once we won it, it was just, it was just a real moment. I really can't explain how I was feeling.
And playing high school basketball up in Ohio, coming south to play for Coach Hunter. NCAA tournament is what you all are playing for. And for you, this is going to be your first one. You'll go in eyes wide open and adrenaline flowing.
Yeah, this is my first time. I feel a little nervous, because I still can't believe we made it. I still can't believe we're playing Friday. But, nerves is always a good thing because that means you're going to play good in the game.
Jeff Thomas with us here in the Georgia State Sports Update. You guys go to New Orleans as the number 2 seed. You beat Troy. Let's talk a little bit about that game real quick. That's a team that beat us twice during the regular season. What were you guys thinking going into that game? They always talk about how hard it is for a team to beat another team 3 times.
We knew it was going to be difficult, but we knew if we came in and played defense, we was going to win the game, and that's what happened.
Lockdown defense held Troy to 29.8 38% shooting and did not let, or I should say 31% shooting, did not let their two big guns who had hurt us last year.
Right.
You were on that
Right.
team last year, that semifinal game against Troy. Jordan Vernardo and Wesley Person didn't hurt us. You know, Vernardo got his points, but they didn't hurt us this year.
We knew we had to pack the paint against Bernardo because he's a really good player down low. And then we just knew we had to contain Pearsons, and he's a really good shooter. He's a really good player. And if we contained him, we'd have a chance to win.
You've been a part of a few Georgia State, Georgia Southern games now, both in Atlanta, obviously, and making the trip down to Statesboro. End up beating them 73-67. It's. I remember talking to a few of the players, and you, I think, were with me on the radio pregame show. It wasn't so much about Georgia State, Georgia Southern,
Right.
as it was about win and advance. You guys had your eyes set on a larger prize than just beating Georgia Southern.
Yeah, we just wanted to come in and get a win. You know, all rivalries kind of go out the door when you're in the tournament. You know, you just want to make it to March Madness, and we knew we had to play good against them, and that's what we did.
You had a pretty good game, 13 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal. And again, it was a total team effort because the leading scorer, Isaiah Williams, came off the bench to score 21.
He always comes in. He saves us sometimes. He always plays good when we need him, and yeah, that's what we need.
You know, in talking about Isaiah, one of the two seniors on the team, along with Jordan Session, he seems to bring, especially when the pressure really started to build from Georgia Southern in the second half and late in that game against UT Arlington, when they're throwing everything but the kitchen sink at you defensively with full court pressure and all that, Isaiah seems to be a calming effect on the floor. He handles the pressure really well.
The last few games we've been playing, he's been stepping up, and that's what we need from him. Every single time we need somebody to come off the bench and give us a boost. Every time he's come in, he's calm and collective. He's a veteran, so he knows what he's doing out there.
You're going to look to him a little bit when you get to Nashville against Cincinnati?
Yeah, just a little bit more.
Exciting going into Nashville. This is your first time. Take it all in and enjoy it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, I want to thank Jeff Thomas coming in and joining us here in the Georgia State Sports Update. Again, Jeff and the rest of the Panthers heading to Nashville to take on Cincinnati in the NCAA tournament. We're going to talk to one of the other veterans, Devin Mitchell, right here, coming up next on the Georgia State Sports Update. Back here on the Georgia State Sports Update as we talk Georgia State basketball, the NCAA tournament coming up in Nashville. They'll take on the Bearcats of Cincinnati, and joined right now by veteran Devin Mitchell. And we were just talking to Jeff Thomas, and boy, what a great weekend in New Orleans. An exciting time going to the NCAA tournament. Is this the first one for you?
Yeah, it is the first one for me, so we're really excited. We can't wait to get down to Nashville.
You and I were talking earlier in the week. What a great decision. You started out, you came out of Collins Hill High School in Gwinnett County. You were at Alabama for a season, and then you made the decision to transfer back to the Atlanta area, play for Ron Hunter at Georgia State, and it's been a great decision. Hindsight being 2020, Georgia State is lucky to have you playing here, and you've been a big part of what this program has done here the last couple of years.
Yeah, I'm really happy to be here. It was one of the best decisions I made. You know, it's tough when you're trying to transfer and you're 18 years old, because at the end of the day, you want to have an opportunity like this, and luckily I chose Georgia State, and we're going dancing.
All right, so New Orleans, Louisiana, you beat Troy, who had beaten us twice in the regular season. Georgia Southern, we'll talk about your shot in a second, and then UT Arlington. And you guys played great defense all 3 games.
Yeah, I think we wouldn't have won it any other way. Troy knocked us off last year, so going into the first game, we had a little bit of extra fire going in there, and we executed our game plan really well. And then second game with Southern, being our in-state rival. They had just had our number on the last game, so we extra focused on that one as well. And then UTA, playing them on their senior night where they had beat us, and we get them in the championship game. So anything short of excited, man, our guys are ready to go each game.
All right, it will go down as one of the great shots in Georgia State basketball tournament history, especially because it came against Georgia Southern. Let's talk real quick. The Georgia Southern game, we were up 3. I think it was a kickball violation, and we get the ball. And so the shot clock had gone down to 1 second.
Yeah.
And Georgia State calls timeout. And I think in the timeout, I don't know what happened because I'm on the radio, but they reset the clock to 20. But in your head, number 1 was stuck in your head.
Right.
So you get the ball off the inbounds and you put up a shot. I don't know how you got it off, but it went clearly through the net. One of the great shots to put us back up 6 with about 20 seconds to go.
Yeah, I thought it was 1 second left on the shot clock. I didn't know the shot clock had reset. I will never forget that rule now. So, but yeah, just in my mind, I just thought if I get the ball, I got to turn and hit a shot. It's kind of similar to the shot I missed last year against Troy, where I missed it, and I was like, man, if I get that shot again, I got to hit it. So I turned, caught it, and squared up and let it fly, and it iced the game.
Great video, because if you look at Coach Hunter on the sideline, he goes from one extreme to the other with regards to the reaction of you taking that shot. What did he say and right afterwards?
As soon as I ran down the court celebrating because, I'm thinking it's 1 second on the clock. So I'm like, man, I just hit a big shot, man. So I'm run back, and he's like, hey, it was 20 seconds left on the clock. What are you doing? I'm like, Coach, I thought it was 1 second. So we couldn't do anything but laugh about it. It was great, though.
All right, Georgia State eliminating Georgia Southern. And real quick, UT Arlington, you hold them to 29.8% shooting. And as we were talking, Kevin Irvey, 2 for 13, Eric Neal, 2 for 16. Their two best players ultimately didn't hurt us.
Yeah,
You guys did a great job on them.
Yeah, we just wanted to focus in on those guys. We know that that's what makes them go. So if we could slow them down just a little bit, we know we'd have a pretty good chance of winning the game. So they struggled. So we fed off of that. Once we saw that they were struggling, and we got stops, and we just ran, and we hit our shots, so it was good.
All right, lastly, as you go to Nashville, Cincinnati coming up, NCAA tournament, you want to enjoy the experience at the same time. You guys want to stay focused and try to get out of there with a win like we did against Baylor.
Yeah, we're just locked in on those guys. They're a really good team. It's a historic program in Cincinnati. Coach Cronin's done a good job, so we're just really excited to be able to play in the NCAA tournament against those guys.
All right, best of luck. Congratulations in New Orleans. We'll see you in Nashville.
Thank you.
All right, I want to thank Devin Mitchell coming in, joining us here on the Georgia State Sports Update. Also want to thank Jeff Thomas and, of course, head coach Ron Hunter. Georgia State and Cincinnati in the NCAA tournament coming up Friday at Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, Tennessee. 4th NCAA tournament appearance in the history of Georgia State basketball. That'll do it for our show this week. Great show. Want to thank everybody, the entire crew. I'm Dave Cohen. We'll talk to you next week right here on the Georgia State Sports Update.